But something happened that night. I don't know whether it works or not. It still remains an unanswered question for me. What did I pray that night? Hello, I'm Ranjan Kumar, founder Mystic Fusion International and authentic self-leadership coach. I have personally never spoken about prayers with anybody, and this probably is the first time that I'm speaking about prayers. Well, initially, in the beginnings of my spiritual journey, I was very much into prayers like any other, person. And yes, to some extent, whenever I was in troubles, whenever I was in pain, I would want to pray to the God like anybody else. I saw my parents doing that. I saw my relations doing that. And I grew up in a culture where prayer was very common. But after some time, it was like, when I started understanding about meditations, when I started going into Joe Silva's meditations and, knowing a lot more, studying a lot more about conscious mind, subconscious mind, and, learning about ways of accessing that and how you can influence your subconscious mind with subtle subliminal statements and audios and videos and the other ways that we all do in self-growth. I started applying all those upon myself, and very rare it was that I would actually sit to pray. Although I never was against it, but also I was not studying about it, and also I would to some extent believe at some point of my personal development journey that prayers are like the ABCDs, the LKG, UKG, the primary classes of or kindergarten classes, grades of the whole journey of spirituality. But then in the last few years, I started having a fresh perspective. I started having a different perspective about prayers. When I would see somebody praying, I would only see that as their oral and verbal communication with their own higher force, with their own higher self. And yes, it's like helping yourself to reach, to get access, to find peace, and get that entry to your supernatural self or to your higher self, which is in connection with the higher self of everybody else in this world. And so people probably who cannot meditate, or people who cannot sit in peace for a little time, prayer does a great help. Well, this is what I used to believe at that point, at certain points. But then I found that nobody is as grown up, as evolved as to avoid or to ignore or to underestimate the power of a prayer. And there were many times when I would sit alone and meditate. But then at the end of the meditation, somehow I have a number of times felt a strong urge to offer my prayer. Well, I'm not saying to offer prayer to a deity or to a particular God, but in general, somehow I feel that strong urge of a prayer, emerging from outside, surfacing from outside. And it would be such a natural prayer where I didn't have to struggle for words, and I didn't have to think about consciously try to pray something, but I would find that the prayer would start flowing, and then I would pray for a while and then forget about it. I would never go back to see if my prayer was fruitful, if it fructified into results, or not even think about it. But something happened that night which I would never forget in my life. And I don't know whether it works or not, but it worked at a certain level. It worked in some mysterious way that it still remains an unanswered question for me whether it was a prayer that worked or not. But I have come to an understanding that the urge to pray had really come for some reason. And the night was the night before my mom passed away. I had seen my mom suffer for around 10 days or so, and that was not difficult for me in any which way to serve her, because her whole life she had been serving me and my kids and my family, and I loved her so much that I'm still unable to accept the fact that she's not around. And the night before she passed away, for some mysterious reason, although I had not been meditating for around 10 to 15 days before she passed away, because I was serving her in all the possible ways, and I was not also able to sleep properly because I had to remain awake in order to help her. And although I was not exhausted and tired both mentally and physically, but for some mysterious reason, I felt that strong urge oozing out of me, forcing me to sit down and sit silently and pray for a while. And after I put my kids to bed, I found some time around midnight, and I sat for a while meditating, and I suppose it was around 20 to 30 minutes that I might have sat. But by the end of the meditation, again, although I was feeling very, very, very relaxed inside, I felt that urge to cry, and I had tears rolling down my eyes. I started crying like a baby, and I could hear myself praying. I could hear the words coming out. I could hear the sound of my own voice unconsciously praying. And the prayer was that I know I have seen my mom suffer a lot, and I was praying this higher self, or the God, or the force that runs, the life force that runs this universe. In very general, I was just praying for help, and help to my mom. I was wanting this natural force, I was wanting this divine force to do something in the best interest of my mom. I wanted something, some help from this universe, that my mom doesn't suffer anymore. And it was about 10 minutes that I cried, and I was urging the divinity in this universe to do something in the best interest of my mom. And I said, I can't see her suffer. And she had been a victim of many things. She had suffered a lot mentally, physically, for a very, very long time. And I was praying this divinity to help her through this phase, and to do something that would be in the best interest of my mom, so that she doesn't suffer anymore. And about 10 minutes later, I just fell asleep. And that's about all. Around 3 a.m., my mom called me. I just woke up and helped her. Again at 4 a.m., she woke up, she called me. Again, I did a little for her, helped her. Exactly at 5 a.m., again she woke me up. I woke up. But then, there was something different about the whole situation that was happening. And once again, in the morning about 8 o'clock, I spoke with her. And just in 10 more minutes, I was holding her, sitting right beside her, with my arms around her shoulders. And she passed away. I saw that whole episode happening right in front of my eyes until she closed her eyes. She was talking till the last moment, and I never believed that she had left me. I cried a lot, I suffered a lot. I felt bereaved of her love or of her affection, of many other things. But when I started recovering from this trauma of her loss, I recollected this prayer. And for some, the question was, for what strange reason did I feel that urge to pray? Was it I who was praying? Where did I get that idea of a prayer? Was it a prayer answered by divinity? Was it a plan by the divinity resulting into a sequence of incidents? What was it happen? Probably I'll never understand. Maybe it's beyond my capacity to understand what happened. But the prayer I would never forget, because of the impact of that prayer that had on me and my understanding of prayer. And how could it be that the prayer naturally came out of me without I having to consciously try to pray? What was that invisible force that was praying through me? And what happened that resulted into the departure of my mom? I would never forget this whole sequence of incidents. But I would be assured, I would be very confident in saying that maybe sometimes prayers are not answered because they don't have to be answered, because they are not right to be answered at the right point of time. But there are times when your prayers are answered. And when the prayers are more aligned to what's most natural and what's most right and destined to happen, that's when probably prayers are answered. I would still go ahead and say that prayers are not for just to believe that they are the initial stages of spirituality. It's about, at any point of time you can sit and you can pray, and probably that's going to help you come closer to your own higher self and to the divinity that's around in this universe, the force that runs everybody, all life in this existence. And I'm not reluctant anymore to accept the fact that prayers do work. Now, what could be the cause of that, or in what situations they work, or what circumstances they result or fructify into whatever you're praying for? God knows. Nobody knows. The universe knows. But I would go ahead and say that if you really feel that urge of sitting for a while and offering your prayers to whoever it is, but if you feel that urge to offer your prayers, please do not allow your intellectuality, your knowledge, or your experience of spirituality come into the way and block your way from offering your prayers. But because deep down, you are the same life that is asking you to offer your prayers, and it is the same life where the prayers are actually reaching. So probably it's the life force, it's the same universal intelligence which is invoking that prayer from within. And when you hear that, from inside, when you hear your inner voice asking for you to relax for a while, close your eyes and offer your prayers. Probably it's high time you realized there is something that is asking you to do it. You just have to listen to it and offer your prayers. Whatever comes naturally to you. I'm sure this universe will listen to your prayers, and I'm sure you will have your own experiences. I would actually want you to offer that, do that, experience that, and I would love to share, love to listen to your experiences in the comments below. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet, and share the videos, like them, and share your comments of your own experiences of prayers. I would love to engage in a conversation. Love you. All the best.